Check 1 2. Check audio check. Check 1 2. Good morning, everyone. It's July 18th, 2023 here on DYOR Live. Today we've got Jonah Burglin of Valid Entry and Anonydoxx here for an update and how to fight the scammers using KYC and AML. So let's get to it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. And once again, I'm so glad to be with everyone this morning, even though there's only a few of you with us here. Most of you will watch me on the replay, so that is what counts. Got a good week for you here, or short week for you. I wasn't on yesterday. I'm on today and tomorrow with guests. And then I'm off for 2 days for a little vacation. It's still summertime. The summer schedule is still going, which means it is not consistent and highly variable. But still, it doesn't mean there's not good content going on here in crypto land. As I always say, what a week it's been. This week's been no different. Congress is pushing legislation through about crypto. The European crypto thing, MiCA, is getting published, and they're coming up with more. I don't know, Europe's going to be a prison soon as far as crypto, or I should say the EU. And they're coming up with more regulations, too. And so it's been quite an interesting week. The fallout from the XRP decision has been very widespread. We've seen similar projects to XRP boom as well as XRP. And exchanges being just relisting XRP and some other tokens too that were similar. But like I said, this is still the summer season here. The summer season is in full force. Like I said, I'll be off for a few days, and then next week I'll do a show or two remotely from another U.S. state. But I'm staying in the States. I'm not moving over to Canada again. And that means I'll have lots of technical problems. So welcome, everyone. Subscribe to the chat, or subscribe to chat on YouTube, on LinkedIn. Also, if you're watching it on LinkedIn, thank you very much. Put a comment down, and I'll bring it on screen. Also, I'm in the background here. I'm trying to get the Twitter Spaces feed up and running for those of you who want to listen and not watch. That's still, we'll say that's not in beta right now. We'll call that alpha. That's an alpha right now. But if you comment, we'll bring it on screen and talk about it. Today's guest is Jonah. Jonah, one of two brothers, and not those Jonah, not that Jonah. No. There's no music career here. This career is in I shouldn't say his career is in fighting scammers. I should say his career is in providing validation and services for HR departments for hiring people. And we'll go over that when he's on. But Jonah Burglin is here in the house, and he'll be my guest for the second half of the show. Normally in the first part of the show, I've got Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst, for some Cinco de Pedro and lots of other commentary. But like I said, it's summer. Pedro's off. That leaves you guys with me. Yes, that leaves you with me. All right, let's check the socials pretty quickly here. Welcome to those of you watching now on YouTube. And let's find the LinkedIn feed. And yes, then to those of you watching on LinkedIn too, let me drop a comment here. Welcome, LinkedInians. Hey, let me post on LinkedIn from the desktop. That's the first time in a while. Let's see. Drop a comment. Let's discuss. And let's see if social stream. Oh, look at that. Today's one of those rare days when everything's working. I shouldn't have said that because it's probably gonna jinx myself. But we're streaming on Twitch also. I got to keep not a lot of viewers on Twitch, but got to keep it going over there. One of the people I'm trying to get the attention to. So if you're watching this and you've seen my tweet about it, I'm trying to get the attention of Zach XBT on Twitter. Zach's been posting on Twitter some great scam hunting. He does scam hunting from the detective point of view, figuring out the projects that are going wrong, figuring out who's behind it, where the money went, and that type of stuff, and exposing it. So it's great. But he's very popular. And if you see my tweet out there, please retweet it and tag ZachXBT. Let me see if I can get a little background music going here so it's not so boring. How about with this one? That should be all right. Go listen here. Testing the old background music. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work fine. Anyway, we're waiting for Jonah to come on here, but in the meantime, let's get to the day's news events as I fill in for Pedro. Oh, what are the news items here this morning? Oh, yeah. For those of you that are watching that are on Reddit, big changes coming to Reddit's tokens and their awards system and the kind of the ways they internally, or I shouldn't say internally, but people internally to Reddit work through the website. And depending on if you rely on those things to keep your rating on Reddit up, it's a big scam. If you're someone like me who just posts various things there every now and then, it makes no difference at all. All right, we need to stop that music. All right, Jonah, where are you? Let's see if we can find him. I have a little screen right here. I can see if my guest is here. And all right, just waiting for Jonah to come on here. But in the meantime, we've all seen the. Let's check on XRP. Coin market cap. Let's see where XRP has ended up. It's pulled back a little. It's got as high as 90 cents during the post-news announcement, but it settled in around 79, 80 cents. And it's trading at 76 cents right now on most exchanges. Which means, and it's forming, if you look at the chart, I mean, it is forming, Crypto Lifer and Pedro would be all over this. They would be very happy to see this flag that's forming right now. As they say, it pumped up, there's some consolidation going on, and then a flag is forming, and it's getting ready to rocket. I hope. I should say we all hope. But let's see. Let's check on XLM. I don't see Jonah. I don't see you. All right, give me a second around while I get Jonah on here. I think he was clicking an old Google Hangouts meeting. Jonah, if you can hear me, you should just be able to see me and come on. There'll be no waiting room. All right, as I'll work on getting him on the background, let's go see what Stellar was up to. I've always liked it. It's been fast. It's been good. It's well accepted around the great internet. And it's been pumping. And in fact, it's been very volatile since the XRP announcement. Hold on a sec, Jonah. We'll get you on here. Testing 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Oh, this is weird. Let's see. DYOR. One second, everybody, while I try and get Jonah in here. Strangely enough. Password. Oh, where did that go? Oh, here we go. Jonah, I can see you now, and I will be right with you. I don't know what the heck happened there, but anyway, you should be able to see me. Sorry for that that delay. It was on my end. I had Jonah do a tech test last night. Everything was fine, and it didn't work. Anyway, that's how it goes. But anyway, I was talking about Stellar XLM and how it has been mirroring the greatness going on with XRP. And I've always found XLM to be very good. It's been very stable. It has great liquidity. And apparently I started using it as a payment system because it's simple and it's fast and it settles very quickly. The various exchanges that I've used over time have settled XRP or Stellar almost instantly. Whereas if you would do, send someone Bitcoin, it's a half hour or whatever. Litecoin, same thing, or something like that. And it's not as ubiquitous, obviously, as, or the new Lightning Network is not as ubiquitous. Oh, and good news. I should say the Binance Network, Binance.com. I don't know about Binance USA yet, but Binance.com is added support for Lightning, which is fantastic. And everyone developing projects on the true Web3 platforms, not all these fake ones that people claim that are just crappy dApps, but actual like decentralized social media networks, decentralized content sharing. Things like that are starting to rely on Lightning as for tips and for payment for content and services because it's fast and instant and it's free. To be honest, I have no idea how that works. I mean, how does that I have no idea how it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You send someone a 1,000 sats, they get 1,000 sats, and it doesn't take 1,001 out of your wallet. I don't understand. Maybe it's the beginning, the love phase of it. While they get you to use it, then they suck you right in. Anyway, this is a good opportunity for me to talk about my sponsor really quickly. I've got two things going on right now of interest to me. As everyone knows, I talk about Auditchain here over my shoulder a lot, and we'll get to my plug about them in a minute. But the other one I've been working on, and I had Anton Golub from Swiss Asset DAO. Anton and his friend Michael Ray are starting a DAO, a completely legal DAO for trading real-world assets under the laws of Switzerland. And it is in the process of being set up. And it's really in the process, it's even before that, it's in community building. So everyone that watches this, I can't stress enough, I'd have it up on the screen here, but I don't have a quick link to it, and I want to get to Jonah here. I'll drop it in my comments, a link to SwissAssetDAO.org to get involved. They have a couple of calls for open to the public coming up here, and they're listed on their website. And I would like everybody that listens to at least check it out, because it's going to be a really interesting project, bringing legalized real-world asset trading. And as Anton corrected me, I'm always assuming bringing real-world assets into the digital world. But he said, no. He said, what we're wanting to focus on first is bringing the crypto assets and digital assets into the real world for all types of investors. And that's like, aha! DAOs are two-way streets, and now I get it. So pay attention to Swiss Asset DAO. And of course, I also want to thank Auditchain for being my sponsor of the show. And as I say, all my original programming is sponsored by Auditchain. And I have a nice discussion here that I play during each show about how the top 100 companies in the United States, almost a third of them, 29, I like to say more than a quarter, but it's just less than a third, didn't file their SEC filings correctly. And frankly, it's rather shocking how many errors they make. And so why don't we learn how that's done? Ladies and gentlemen, Auditchain.
Most of you know that crypto exchanges have been taking a beating about transparency, and many groups out there are trying to solve that. But Auditchain has already done that. Auditchain's protocols and network of validators can mathematically prove that a company's entire financial state, not just proof of reserves, but a proof of state, and whether or not that company is providing accurate reporting and information to the respective government regulators and to the public. Seriously, you and I can check crypto companies and traditional companies' financial reports for transparency and accuracy using a logic and reasoning engine called Pacioli that records its output where? On the blockchain. Seriously, ladies and gentlemen, blockchain technology is now able to be used to check on traditional companies. Behind me is a list of companies that comprise the S&P 100. In essence, the largest U.S. companies by size. More than one quarter, 29 out of 100, have problems with their reports. Remember, accounting and other corporate systems are garbage in and garbage out. So if there are problems with the data out for these companies, in red here, what does that mean? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There are problems with the data going in. And this was figured out not by accounting or auditing firms and fleets of consultants. This was compiled and reported on by Auditchain's Pacioli validating nodes and took only 5 minutes. It's revolutionary and it's a disruptor technology. Auditchain.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Auditchain. As I say, they're sponsor, the primary sponsor of all my original programming here. And I also, once again, remind everybody of Swiss Asset DAO. And two, also starting with probably with the fall season of DYOR Live, we'll have a content sponsor as well, bringing information and projects from around the internet that need to have, as they say, better access to eyeballs. And so I'll have someone on helping me out with content, which is good. It's good for everyone here on that. But what's really good for everyone and everyone in crypto, the best, what's the best thing that can happen? Let's say there's a total in the different platforms, about 10 of you watching. What's the best thing that can happen? The best thing that can happen, I'll just answer the question for you. The best thing that can happen is the crypto market matures faster than other markets ever have. Now, we all know that crypto moves basically at the speed of light, right? We get that. It's the most innovation, or I should say that the ratio of innovation to time in the crypto industry is faster than anything I've ever said. I mean, it puts manufacturing to shame because you can just write code and publish it. You don't have to make anything. It puts professional services like I don't even know, like the medical the whole healthcare industry, the automotive industry, name any industry, it's slow and ancient compared to crypto. You come up with a great idea in crypto. This is the best idea ever. And then you get your friends together, you build it, you launch it, it's a great success. And 3 days later, someone says, I see their code. Now I'm going to iterate it and have something twice as good. But guess what happens with all that innovation? People get scammed. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And you've heard me over and over again talk about scams on this show. And, of course, on my insanely famous and popular show. That's a lie. Rugged, Ruined, and Wrecked. And we talk about the scams. And we use other people's misfortune to keep future people from getting scammed in the same situations. We don't do investigations. And nobody's got time for that CoffeeZilla shit. I mean, that takes forever. I mean, he may make a fortune doing that, but man, you gotta do that. You gotta do that full time. I don't do that. I don't do that because I don't have that kind of time. And apparently, I did not win the $1 billion lotto last night. So I still need to dedicate my time to earning, as they say, the nickel and dime. But the scammers are still going at it. And the best way for our industry to mature is to get rid of the scammers. And people have tried all sorts of things. They have tried everything. They've tried all sorts of locking LP. They've tried smart contracts, this kind of function, that kind of function, to try and get the community to trust developers more, and developers keep ruining the trust of all that. And I've said over and over and over on this, the only way to really root evil out is by doxing, by only investing in projects in which you know the owners of the project, or if you don't know them personally, you know it's a company. It's like a real company with insurance and legally can operate in whatever jurisdiction that they're in. Like a good example is a company in the U.S. A company in the U.S. has to be registered in a state in the U.S. and then that's where it primarily does business. And it has to be legal to do it. It has to have insurance, and it has to have proper reporting things. And that means they have proper directors. That means if something goes wrong, you have some kind of recourse. You can sue them. You can get them in bankruptcy court. You can file complaints against the owners and the directors. Yada 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 yada. If it's just some dude in a mask or a stupid, Bored Apes profile picture, and you give them their money, you deserve to lose. Another one just happened. A new DAO formed in China, Arubis or something like that. $60 million. They raised it, 14,000 ETH here, another couple thousand ETH there. Boom, the next day gone. There was literally no one behind the project, yet they got $60 million. I think maybe when I have my guest Jonah on, we'll talk about maybe instead of just doing this fighting the scammers, we'll just turn into scammers. It seems to be quite profitable. But the blockchain is forever, ladies and gentlemen. Eventually, everyone will catch up. But back to doxing. You've heard me talk about Anonydoxx. Anonydoxx, I'll use the past tense, was a good project on the great interwebs here. I think it was on the BNB chain, right? And it was bringing the doxing, KYC, AML, all that type of stuff, trying to get that to come into to crypto. But it's going through a merger right now and merging with another project. And I'm going to have Jonah Burglin talk about that here in a minute. I thought I was going to have this information up on the back. But one of the things that you got to be able to do is you got to trust the people that hold your money. These, banks have been around for generations now. The trials of the home studio, fire trucks. Oh, a couple of them. Anyway, trusting, getting the fire trucks ruined my train of thought there. Anyway, with one of the things that is very, very, very important in getting the trust of the community is making sure that your devs and developers, the people involved in your project, are not criminals. That doesn't mean they're perfect. That just means that they are who they say they are, and that they're not just scamming you right from the start. And I'm going to bring Jonah on here, and if I can get my system up and running here. Where is it? Let's see if this magically works. Of course, there it does. Jonah, welcome to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jonah. I'm not getting your last name correctly, I don't think. Burglin.
Burglin.
Burglin. All right, I did get it right. Welcome to the show, Jonah. Thanks for coming on and appearing on the TV over my shoulder here in my very expensive studio. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonah's been around the crypto space here as long as I have, or perhaps even longer, which for the true crypto people is not that long. For those of us that have been trying to either make a buck in it or trying to provide a better service, a couple of years now. And he famously brought, along with his brother, Anonydoxx into the world of trying to bring trust and transparency into the life of getting people to say who they were. And I would say it was a very successful project, but we all know that there are still people who fully dox, and they still scam you, and they do it because they think nobody's paying attention to them. They're small fish. They're just going to shovel the money out the back of a project, and no one's going to notice. But like I said, the blockchain is forever. But we've got a lot to talk about with Jonah here. Jonah has a bunch of really cool in real life companies, of which it was on the screen behind me here, called Valid Entry. You have another one, Higher Vice. Higher Vice. Yep. Higher Vice. And of course his crypto project, his merger with Meta Labs, and he's going to talk about that. So Jonah, welcome to the show. I appreciate having you on today. What's happening?
Man, so much. I think you touched on it before. So Anonydoxx, those fire trucks again.
Yeah.
Anonydoxx is going away as a token itself, and we're going to maintain those services in DeFi. So we've got Valid Entry that's powered our KYC service, and what it effectively does is it takes identity and ties it to wallet addresses through an IPFS system. So a server-based identity that's tied to a wallet address. When we're KYCing a project, we tie that identity to a wallet address that owns the smart contract. So the idea behind that is you're not using a KYC or a fake or a double or anything like that. It consists of still frame photo, liveness detection, OCR. We run that against government databases for anti-money laundering, and like OFAC and Interpol and all the major ones that can tell us if you're like a major wanted criminal, right? We have background checks integrated if someone chooses to do so, which is a little bit more encumbering. And then we've got a short video at the end that has live facial mapping on it. And Valid Entry ties an ID to a wallet. We can do it on a mass scale from a service side as well, which is what we're focused on, kind of an enterprise level solution for KYC. Think of like new age single service sign-on. So like instead of going to Amazon and typing in all your information so they can sell it to somebody,
right,
you would go and connect your wallet. They would verify that you're KYC, that you're not money laundering through us, but never actually have access to your information. That's kind of the concept with it. With Anonydoxx, I don't want to say like it failed. We ran some traction and then we ran into capacity issues. So
right,
what we're doing with Meta Labs is we're giving them the token and then our decentralized application. It's made for networking, live chat application, and kind of this like pseudonymous application that never really gained traction through us. And we're allowing Meta Labs to kind of start running that front end for us. So we're still doing the KYCs. We're still participating in that. They're going to be issuing the certificate, and they're also going to be utilizing the DApp for that.
Well, that's a lot going on there. There's a lot to unpack and talk about the show, but I want to hit up kind of one thing that I learned recently that you just mentioned in one blurb. It was the output of your projects to the IPFS or IFPS or IPFS. Which one was it?
IPFS. Mm-hmm.
IPFS. Explain that to our viewers, because I just learned about this protocol and recording the information on the internet. Explain to people generally what that means.
So basically, we're taking a server and we're allowing it to communicate in a limited basis with a decentralized ledger, in this case being a wallet, right? And instead of passing through all of that information or keeping it on nodes on a blockchain where it could be potentially hacked or has a higher likelihood to be hacked, what we're doing is we're just saying this person has KYC, this person has access, or this person is denied KYC and denied access, right? So it's kind of a pseudo distributed ledger type system, right? So we've got priority based access, and some people can see it, but we don't want everybody to see it, if that makes sense.
But it's basically an immutable record. Once you publish to it, in the simplest terms, it's got a hash associated with it, and you can't change the information. And if you update the information, it produces a new version of it. But the old information, it can't get hacked or changed without it becoming apparent to, the internet at large. So it's kind of as I say, I'm learning about an immutable way to store things off the blockchain. The blockchain points to it. Here's the record, and the record is also not changeable. So it provides a very trustworthy way to record things on the internet without, people coming in and drawing a mustache on the Mona Lisa there.
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of like, I would describe it as kind of like a really good way to log information traditionally, but make it adaptable. And that's what we were trying to do.
Gotcha.
We've got decentralized identity solutions that don't really pan out very well. So we kind of wanted that hybrid framework.
Now, how did you were in the identity verification business before the internet? How did you get into that business in the first place?
So my background is in commercial banking, and then my brother's has always been in recruiting. So a very kind of commonality there is we would have to identify people. I was very familiar with KYC, KYB services, enhanced due diligence in banking and all of that. And then my brother had some concepts, and we had some companies that we've been working on for a few years. One being Pavi, which is a video interview system. So effectively, we started looking at making ways to make Pavi more effective, and being able to accurately identify a candidate on the front end or on the back end of an interview before they move forward and take up anyone's time, because people who interview and them having doubles is a huge problem in business right now, especially if you're hiring offshore,
right.
You're hiring remote, right? You have people who look similar to you because you're not used to those people. It becomes an issue. So we started looking at it from, okay, let's get the baseline of identity verification first, and then start rolling it back into our products. And then kind of on top of that, we saw this opportunity in DeFi where there are no AML standards. You can have people who traffic children, you can have Nazis, and these are real situations, or you can have people who knock off 3 churches on Easter Sunday and they're in DeFi and they're taking money and existing.
Damn murderers.
DeFi is it's like an airport without the TSA to govern it. You've got all of these people sitting in the airport, and the only way to make sure they didn't steal all of this money or someone's baggage is to go and secure individual flights.
Right.
So we position valid entry to secure those flights being the dApps. So if you have that layer of identification, it keeps you safer, it keeps your dApp safer, it keeps all of the assets in the dApp safer, and everybody who operates in the dApp safer.
Now at some point, I always like to ask these people, guests on my show, their background in getting into crypto. At some point, you have this real company, you're in this business, you're a banker, then you're in the identity verification business, and you're like, this crypto sounds like a good thing. This is awesome, and this is long before the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, staring at your phone routine, and the personality differences with people in crypto. What was it that made you think, all right, I want to start my own project in crypto, or I should say in digital assets, Web 2 and then Web 3 land? What made you sit there and do that?
I think a lot of it, obviously boiled down to the opportunity that I thought was there. But a good amount of it too is bringing back some level of sovereign control and starting to eliminate some of the oversight that's around things. Obviously, banking is very stringent in what you can and can't do. You've got the inability to really work through cross-border payments as a whole. So you've got kind of a new, more efficient, almost self-governed system, but it's still pretty centralized. And what it's missing is some level of compliance and regulation, right? That's what's missing in DeFi to actually drive mass adoption. So if you can develop this compliance, this regulatory structure, and start policing yourself, then we can start moving into adoption and bringing people in through, usability. So there's an opportunity for companies to go overseas and to go across the shore, because if you use a system like this, you don't have to worry about GDPR challenges and compliance costs and all that other stuff that keeps people just in the US. And then there's like the end user, right? So you've got people even in major countries like this who are unbankable. A lot of the US is unbankable because of prior mistakes. It's kind of I don't want to call it like a do-over button, but it's an opportunity to be a part of something different.
Well, that's definitely an opportunity. An opportunity to pull the rest of your hair out. The opportunity to shake your head at the scams that humans are capable of coming up with. I mean, I'm not going to talk about that particular project, but we were both involved in a project a while ago where the owner was known to everybody, fully doxxed. People had met him in real life, and he still stole everyone's money. So one of the things that I would like to talk about is with your services. What happened when things went wrong? Like somebody doxed you, and they were valid people, and they still stole from everybody. What did you guys generally do?
Yeah, so that situation is obviously unique. I think to touch on that a little bit more in depth, we issued a certificate that it's pretty hard to get from us. So for us to give that certificate, you have to have certain cash controls. No one can have individual access to liquidity, and we only did it for a token, right? Like we verify tokens. We rarely do things like the other projects associated with it. When those cash controls are in place, you have a less likelihood of someone stealing, because not one person has access. You would have two signatures on every wallet, right? But when those cash controls go away on things like NFT or EMV bots or MEV bots, whatever, you end up with issues. But anyway, situations of things that have happened and what we've done about it. A really good one for this, we've had a couple big ones recently, but people still steal. It doesn't matter if they're KYC. Right. And they think that because there aren't regulations in place, they can just take a ton of money and keep it. So there was this project, it's called Xirtam, XIRTAM. And Xirtam spent a year, a little bit more, raising over $4 million from Pinkubator, from Cult DAO, from everything else. The day that they launched, they decided to seed the liquidity pool with $42,000. So 1% of what they raised, they decided.
That's funny. That's not the whole point of this.
Yeah, and they were wondering why everybody was upset. They were like, "You can totally make your money back." It's like that's like starting a business with $4 million in liabilities and then just telling everybody they can have their money. You can't throw $42,000 into the pool. Anyway, that was a situation where we KYC'd the owner directly from the operating wallet. And what they did is this owner took the money and it was put into an account that was KYC'd with Binance. Working together, we worked with government institutions as well. Binance was able to immediately freeze those funds. So you've got 3.8 million is what they actually had in cash after all the fees from what they raised. And you've had it locked in this account now. So we were able to work with the government and everything else. So Binance is developing smart contracts to actually kick that money back to people. So this is like one of the rare situations where someone gets scammed and everybody's getting their money back.
I don't think I've heard of that ever.
Yeah, I think it might be a one and done. I hope it's not, but it might be a one and done. But generally speaking, we work with authorities. We have a great relationship with authoritative bodies in the United States. So if anyone from the U.S. was impacted, we can generally help. It's not all about where that person lives and where they're from, or the perpetrators, where they're from. It's about who's impacted and if you're impacted in the United States. So we've seen charges brought on someone from the SEC. We've seen, hopefully charges brought against these people from Xirtam with their stuff, and just trying to clean the space up a little bit at a time.
And now Xirtam, I covered on Rugged, Ruined, and Wrecked when I was trying to look for extra content, and you're like, "Oh, I got a good one for you." And so I spent some time looking into the information you sent me, and I was just amazed at the communication between the people writing the smart contracts, the owners of the project, and still how even the guy writing the contract was telling them how to do it, but in a way that still manipulated the price as a pump and dump thing, and how they could get more money out of the liquidity pool. I'll say the legal way. It's not really legal manipulating it, but instead of just outright stealing it, he was teaching them how to pump it, and then dump it down by changing the amount of money in the liquidity pool, and they didn't do it according to the way he wanted it, because then the developer was going to make a ton of money, with the tokens that they had dropped him, and it drove him crazy. And I was watching this, and I was like, the scammers got scammed by other scammers in the same project, and I was like, it was too much, and I was like, this one has to go unrugged, ruined, and wrecked, and talk about it. I mean, you had screen captures of it and everything. I'd pull it up here now, but it's too complicated to do that.
No, man, I thought that was the most interesting part, and it kind of points out another glaring issue in the space is you've got this current project owner who's done almost this exact same thing before, to where he ran a pump and dump. They ran up the price 3-4x, and then it dropped 10% of what they launched at. And this person was advising this project to do the exact same thing, the exact same way, to pump just a little bit more cash out of that $4 million that they raised. And it's amazing, but people look at that as acceptable in the space. It's unbelievable that person was posting those screenshots and thinking this absolves me of everything else that went wrong. Right? Like, I told them to pump the price, and they did not do that.
I just my mind has never worked that way, so I don't get it. Sorry, I'm trying to get if you could pull your camera down a little bit to raise your head up in the picture. I'm messing around with it on this side, and it's goofing me up. But that Zertam example is a great example of, doesn't matter who was KYC'd and all that. If the team is working to steal your money, they're going to steal your money. It's just like going to a bank in the United States, where the bank is completely legal, everything is set up correctly. And still, if some employees collude to steal your money, they're going to steal your money. The difference is that banks have insurance, and banks in the U.S. can be held, in most jurisdictions, are held to account kind of by default. Whereas this Zertam thing that you guys did was not by default. It was the unique, as you said, a unique opportunity to help people get their money back. In which, if it actually happens, and the fact that Binance is spending any time with all the stuff they got going on, if they spend any time doing that, it's amazing. It's amazing to do that.
Yeah, they need the good press, so that's probably
that's a good point. That's a good point. They, it's probably going to cost them a lot of money in labor, employee time to do that, but the PR they'll get out of it would be amazing. So. What else? What other? Now that your Anonydoxx is sunsetting and all that, and you can be less political about the people that you've interacted with. What else? What else is out there? Who's currently scamming us, and what are the current ways people are scamming us?
So there's a lot. You've got those classic pump and dumps, meme coins that are popping up. People don't realize it, and they keep trying to start their own and thinking it'll pop off like Pepe or Pepe 2 or anything else that comes out. But those meme coins are generally run by a couple of insiders, and it's like the same 15 connected wallets that continuously do it. And then they're having these massive influencers start promoting it, and they gift them these tokens, and they make sure that, these influencers are involved and want to make the price pump, and those influencers will do it. I'm disappointed to see someone like Gochstein Media, go out and promote Pepe, because I had respect for how they operated in the space before. They were against things like safe moons that were obvious, pump and dumps and liquidity pools. But to turn around and enforce Pepe, it's just kind of, there's been this odd shift in influencers over the past year, especially moving into the bear market, almost to the point where they either die heroes or they live long enough to become villains, So you've got these people who are willing to pump their bags at anything. And I've sent you screenshots and voice recordings of someone saying, hey, as long as I get mine, I don't care. And that shouldn't be the mentality that we have. You have a following, and you have people that listen to you. If your sole purpose is saying, well, it might be a scam, but then telling everybody how much money you're making on it, then you're probably doing something wrong. You're just trying to avoid this karmic retribution for who you are as a person. And it's an absolute fucking scam artist. Excuse my language. I shouldn't swear.
Yeah, the YouTube algorithm will pick me up. Fortunately, I can edit those things out.
Nice.
But you're right, though, the amount of people that do that, and I understand investing is cutthroat, and generally, I've spent plenty of time in investing prior to learning about crypto, and generally it's not such a community base. There's day traders been sitting at home in their underpants for, since they invented computers, trying to trade stocks, and they're like, I'm dumping this, and they dump it. They don't care because they don't know anybody else. They don't know the other project. They haven't built it as a community. But as we've learned with crypto, most of these projects are a community. That's how you build your following. That's how you get the word out, because you got to rely on word of mouth. And then for people that are part of that community to turn around and then dump on you is always hard to take. And we all know it's going to happen. It's this famous, the term came out, I'm just going to cheat you guys, and that we all know it's going to happen, yet we're all disappointed when it does. But when you find out someone close to you in the inside is doing that, or is trading on insider information because someone else was lying to you and dumped on you before that, it breaks your heart. And I've seen it happen to me. I've seen it happen to the people that I report on and talk to, and you're just like, that scumsucker, if I ever find him in real life, I'm going to point at him and yell at him. That's all I'm going to do. But right. do you see, do you come across in your efforts people in close-in communities just dumping on other people based on insider information?
Yeah, absolutely. I could point out one group specifically, but I don't want to start that much drama yet. So, if you end up seeing your favorite influencer's wallet, right? All of these people who are out there who have, I would call it like a mutual community. They've got a community trust, and those people trust you, so they invest in whatever project that you're throwing out there. Because you used to do due diligence or whatever. If you actually saw their wallets, you would be destroyed. And at what point they dumped, and at what point they stopped talking about this project or found something that they didn't like about it, whether it was lack of marketing or something else. And it's usually right towards the top that they end up dumping the big bags. And it's never a DCA out, right? Like, these people don't DCA. They're not doing little dumps. They are like, that 3 BNB worth of this token that they sent me, I'm going to dump for 35. And it's on you guys for not getting out before me. And they could dump on insider information. Like, for example, someone's background.
Right.
I had an influencer send me a message on someone's background, a message that you now have, that said, hey, I know this person has a background and I don't care about it, but when it gets out, everybody's going to dump. So I have to make sure that I'm dumping before everybody else. That's almost what this person told me. So I think it's a huge problem. And like, kudos to you being a stand-up guy and actually, vetting people and talking about people who are real and disclosing who's investing in you. It doesn't come around very often in the space. It's one of the glaring problems in the space.
Absolutely. Like I say, I'm always waiting for that call from CNBC to say, hey, we need you to fill in on the 3 a.m. slot or the 2 a.m. slot, just to talk about these things in crypto and all that. But in following the new regulation coming out, one of the things they're starting to talk about is trading on insider information. And first of all, I don't see any way to control that in crypto until everyone, in traditional finance, most of the people that have insider information are licensed people with FINRA. Or they've got all kinds of education, and it's built into their heads ahead of time that this information, if I use it, will lead me to jail. And they're watched. They're like, anytime an announcement on any company comes out, the first thing the SEC's computers look at are the options markets, and see who made out of band trades. What they look at everything abnormal. For that, and then hunt through their wallets, but in the real world of their accounts, to find out where someone traded insider information. In crypto, it's like, oh, got a new wallet, click. And so, I understand you have products that verify those wallets now and link them to a proper KYC, considering that there's about 1 trillion wallets in crypto right now. And I'm guessing you don't have 1 trillion customers. If you did, you would not be on my show. But
I know, I wish we did, maybe
right.
One day.
But the trading on insider information, which just happened in a project close to us recently, that the CEO of the company turned out to have, let's say he was in jail for a while, and didn't disclose that to his community, which is fine. People have backgrounds. I get it. You don't have to be a perfect person. You just have to disclose it, because when those things come out, your investment gets wrecked because people sell and they don't expect it. And so when you lie to your community, it's a problem. But when it involves drugs and all sorts of other bad stuff like that, it wasn't just scamming your neighbor about the fence height or something like that. It was bad stuff. And then the insiders sell on that, and you see the chart tank, and people lost a lot of money in that type of stuff. So you get disheartened in that. But like I said, what always warms my heart is when the scammers get caught. And so this, and I equate, we for the viewers, Jonah and I joked about the thumbnail making for this, and Jonah's like, well, I got to have an influencer face. And I'm like, well, okay, give me a couple. And I took the easy one he sent me. I didn't get the O-face one. But the influencers, and generally the people you see on the internet pumping crypto, that have thousands of views, but don't really say anything. They just say, dude, bro, this one's hot, this one's not, this one's hot, this one's not. They're getting paid for that. And they're getting paid for that, and that's a business model for them. And they are in the business for themselves and not for your community. Or the community, you might think, hey, Influencer X just joined our community. It's great. We're going to pump. We're going to do all this kind of stuff. He's there to take your money, or she. That person is there to get paid, to pay their bills, to fund their lifestyle. Their business is not to pump your community or make sure your bags do okay. And so just know that those influencers never have you at the front of their mind. In traditional finance, we'd say that person would have a fiduciary responsibility to the investors. Crypto, that doesn't exist yet. Maybe someday it will. I don't know.
Not yet, and I really do hope it does happen one day. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was going to expand on something that we were talking about there. I might need a second to revisit it. I think, influencers and a lot of the scammy ones especially have capitalized on the human want to be a part of something. So if you look at when crypto grew the most, I would say it's 2020. It's hard to argue that small cap coins didn't grow the most in 2020, where everybody was isolated and they were locked up, and people started looking at this and wanted to be a part of a community. That's why you have these huge projects, Hoj, SafeMoon, whatever it may be. And that's kind of carried over to people wanting to be a part of something. And you have innate MLM marketers and innate scam artists that will go in and they'll pitch whatever token they can, knowing full well that it's because people want to be a part of a community. But they're saying things like, no, not financial advice, and your investment is on you. I just told you how much money I was making from it.
Right.
And I thought it was good, right? Only to turn around and call you an idiot when you actually lose money. And there's very specific influencers that do that. I mean, I think BitBoy is in this category now. He's a lot bigger than us, obviously, but with Beneth and PsyOp and all these other things that are coming out, it's crazy what people are getting away with. Just zero consequences around it. And I think it's up to communities to start policing themselves. Stay away from that kind of influencer body that's just pitching the coin after coin after coin.
I had to, my Twitter feed, I had to ban the word PSYOP. From mute words, certain words. I think at least 9 out of 10 tweets in crypto were PSYOP airdrop tweets, but most of them were scams trying to get people to go to other projects. It was I had never even heard of this, and all of a sudden it just fills my Twitter feed. And then over here we have Elon saying, we're fighting the bots. And I'm like, you're not looking at crypto, man. I mean, the bots in crypto they're amazing. So it's almost hard to tell a decent story on Twitter anymore because there's so many crypto bots telling the things. But you're right about the influencers, and I go back and I tell people, they're like, oh, Pepe this, Pepe that, and all of the follow-ons about it too. I tell them, Pepe started as a scam, right? And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, no. It was a scam. It just caught. It was just the first, pretty much anytime we see a new scam or a new way of doing things, it does well because people are like, oh, it's new, it's better. And when Pepe blacklisted some of the big wallets on their contract, it removed that sell pressure. And so it naturally, when most projects jeet out, it didn't. Those people instantly, as soon as it didn't immediately jeet, people are like, oh my God, let's keep buying, and it just pumped it, and it pumped it, and then of course it went viral, then it went crazy and all that. But I saw, hey, it's a scam, and the follow-ons, Pepe 2, Pepe XL, Pepe this, Pepe that, Frog this, Frog that. I mean, the fact that the meme coin factories just started going, just crank them out, crank them out, crank them out, and they took a lot of people's money,
Yeah, and it's an interesting like duality in this market too, because everybody wants to make a quick buck. Like that was part of the allure of being like a crypto investor somewhere. So everybody wants this like skyrocket. And all those skyrockets have one thing in common. Generally, they're not doxed. They're not KYC. They're not anything. Then these people complain about rugs. And it's the same people doing the exact same things over and over. We're just letting them get away with it at this point. But I'm going to digress from that a little bit. I do think, Pepe, you can look back and see which wallets were the insiders that bought early because they weren't blacklisted. Everybody else was blacklisted from
right. I should say that the insiders were not, but the random whales were.
Yeah, just the people who like have a bot on Dex Tools or something,
Right.
Those people were blacklisted.
Jonah, what's next? What's next for Anonydoxx and Meta Labs? There's a new token coming out for that.
Yep, new token. So none of our holders have to do anything. The new token's going to be airdropped to you. It will be cash equivalent of what you have right now. Meta Labs is a super cool product. They're taking over the DApp. They're taking over kind of that front end of our KYC. They still don't see your data, only we do. And then they have development services on the side and a few other things like launch pads and stuff that they use for their clients specifically. The owner, Chris, he's a major developer in the BSC space, Meta Captain. He works with Kevin Reamer, who's also a big developer in kind of this small BSC bubble that we have. So hopefully it's got a lot of potential. I think that ultimately we're doing the right thing, Jordan and I, and taking a step back from that front end for everybody. That merge should happen hopefully by the end of the week if everything lines up now. Just waiting on Bitmart to get some stuff together. But hopefully that goes well for everybody, just trying to do the best for people. Like I've talked about before, we gave up a ton to do this for everybody else, more than we have in the past. Gave up a lot of concessions and really trust Chris and his team to handle this well.
Well, that's good. And thinking about that, you're moving your business model from being completely vertically integrated and doing it all to providing the service to, I'm guessing people in many different sectors, in the BSC space and different ends of digital assets and that type of stuff is a good thing and a good way to be more effective with your limited time instead of trying to do it all yourself and never seeing your family.
Right.
Only 10 more minutes, honey. Only 10 more minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of insomnia as a result of it. And our goal right now is to grow the space. We're working on helping in regulations in the space, providing feedback to members of Congress and everything else that hopefully keeps it out of full government control. We don't want something like Elizabeth Warren's bill. We want something that's a very clean in between that starts to clean this space up, recognize it for the value that it is versus just, killing it, destroying it as a whole.
Right.
And it really frees up our capacity to continue to put our assets in there from a time standpoint, from a monetary standpoint.
Don't get me started on Elizabeth Warren. I mean, it's amazing. It's like she's living in the 1980s here still. Anyway, let's talk later offline about the working with Congress. I do a little bit of lobbying on the side myself as well, especially up in Canada. But anyway, Jonah, I want to say thanks for coming on here on the show today and talking about updates on all your projects and about what's going on in the life of the influencer scamming. Probably most of us out here. I think the summary is if an influencer is involved in your project, you are getting scammed. That's the best way to talk about it. Or you're being diluted. Your share, your token value is being heavily diluted because of this influencer.
Absolutely. And you can look at people's track records too. I think track records speak for themselves. I know that you have a really good one and you've presented yourself well and handled some really difficult situations that we've talked about before really well. And you and your group as a whole have done a good job.
Yeah, the problem is I don't take money. That's my problem. It's like, that's why I wear the same T-shirt all the time, because I don't have enough money to go buy new T-shirts and things like that. It's like that makes it easier when you don't take anyone's money. Like a good way to talk about this. Jonah came on, talked all about his new project and this, and even though it's not financial advice, he talked about his token moving from one to another. Nobody paid me for that. I said, hey Jonah, this is a good topic. Let's talk about this and get the information out. And so that override. It's easier to have an honest conversation when you're just talking about the information. But if people were paying me, like if my sponsor Auditchain, they pay me, I put out an advertisement, I tell them this is an advertisement, I tell them that I'm publicly supporting it on this type of stuff. That's different. But this is an honest discussion, and that's what needs to happen more.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, you're in a tough position as well, because you could start doing things like, hey, I called the next 50x in this, and they gave you a percentage or whatever. And you start making a lot of money really quickly. It takes an actual individual with ethics and character to not use that excuse, right?
Right.
Like, I'm making money. Other people could too if they were just smarter and didn't listen to me, And it takes a lot to do it, man. I respect the hell out of you. Sorry for the F-bomb earlier, but I do.
That's all right. I'll fix that on the great YouTube editor. They give you a break on that. But like I said, we got a lot of good things coming up. And Jonah, we'll follow up with you. Like I said, the difference, I do this for a reason, to get the information out, to teach new people. But also I enjoy, I'm not in it for the guts of, dude, bro, 50x, dude, yo, bro. I'm in it. If you can see my show, I'm starting to track, and I'm telling this story for a reason. I'm starting to track higher level topics, and seeing where people have actual real products in the industry. Like, you have a actual real company that does real life stuff, and people that do real things, like set the regulation. I've had recently had the lawyer for Coinbase on here who tried to get them registered at the SEC, and he famously said, I got rug pulled by the SEC. And so, I'm trying to go for that. And as a sneak peek, this fall, once your kiddos go back to school, I'm going to have a very high-level guest on here who's had trouble with the Fed and is famously battling them in public and in the courts. So we're going for the higher-level topics here. And as I said, if I'm lucky, CNBC will call and say, Tom, we got to have you at 3 a.m. We only got 8 viewers. You're used to only having 8 viewers, so this will be a perfect spot for you.
I feel that call coming. I feel it.
Anyway, Jonah, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And we'll talk later. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonah with Now Meta Labs.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
Cheers.
it.
All right, everybody. That was a good... A good one of the honest conversations that we could have. And we beat around the bush to a couple of different topics that eventually we'll talk about in detail on this channel, because it's difficult to talk about projects that are ongoing right now because there are innocent people still invested in it. So if you beat them up and people get spooked by it, that removes the ability of the team to correct the problems themselves. But there's so many stories we want to tell. Even just talking about things like, the whole proof of memes disaster and all the rug pulls going on behind that still exists, but it's the whole community's in revolt about it, so I don't mind talking about them. But anyway, the scams go on, and they go on and on and on. But it's our job to bring transparency into the markets and transparency into crypto and bring new things on. That being said, tomorrow I'm going to have a man named Jeremy Williams on. Jeremy's going to talk about NFTs, and I famously hate NFTs. They're worthless pieces of steaming dog pile of stuff. But there's a twist, and that is because I hate the cartoon ones. There's no use even having the art for cartoon ones. Just put the rarity number on it. Just have a new set of rarity numbers. There's only one of these, so that's number 1. There's 100 of these, so there's 100 of them. It's a number of them, and it's 100. Just why even bother with the art? that's that's an NFT. That's there. They're even starting to just call them profile pictures now because they're so ridiculous. You can yuck about Bored Apes and all these type of stuff. It's all crap. They're all going to zero, and they've shown that. What I'm talking about is actual process control NFTs. Like Auditchain has some that actually watch over the accounting industry. And now you're going to be able to have NFTs through a product. The product is called the Aspen Group of Products. And Jeremy Drain turned me on to this, and his head guy that talks about this for his company, Jeremy Williams, in which the NFT has the rights to content on it, meaning that the NFT, if you own that NFT, you get the residual revenue from it, whether it's I don't know exactly how it's going to work. We're going to learn about that tomorrow. But it's very interesting because it removes the whole lawyer and whole third-party management system of rights that gets complicated and keeps people from actually adopting rights easily. Like, say you want to use a song. I can't use any songs on my show here. And even if there's one by a small artist that I know personally, and I say, I want to use your song, and they're like, dude, no way, man. I can't. I wouldn't even charge you, and you can use it. But just navigating through the layers of law firms, he said it costs me money just to tell someone they can use it for free. These types of things will allow them to say, yeah, I'm in control of those rights, and you can use that, Tom. Then they're like, you know what? I don't like that song anymore. I don't like that picture. I don't like that content that I created, whatever. Or I've had my fill of it. I'm going to sell it. Then they sell the NFT, and then that new owner has the rights to the revenue stream. It's just amazing, and it even incorporates accepting the legal terms and conditions in your wallet so that you can legally show, you can attest that as the seller, you legally have the right to sell this NFT, and as the buyer, you legally agree to the terms and conditions of the sale. And that changes what we call the legal provenance of ownership, because in jurisdictions, you not only can sell something, you have to have the right to sell something. And so, like, you can sell your grandmother's house, but did you have the right to sell? Did you have a power of attorney? Are you on the title? Are you on the deed? These types of things. The NFTs have to be able to mirror the local jurisdictions. And by incorporating terms and conditions into these projects, that works. Anyway, Jeremy joining tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. Pedro will be on vacation again. We'll have a short show for you tomorrow because I will be leaving for the airport tomorrow afternoon. And we'll go from there. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here on the DYOR network. We're so glad to have all of you getting all this way to the end here, both of you. And once again, thank you to Jonah from Anonydoxx and the whole crew of people out there keeping everyone getting scammed. Once again, enjoy your week. I'll see you tomorrow.